welcome to Blighty Day Fiancé. This is your ninth, 10th, or 11th favorite podcast. Just a quick reminder, if you want to hear the all killer, no filler version of this, i.e., without ads, but also thanks to the people who put ads on this because we need them, head on over to Patreon, www.patreon.com/BladyDay. If you can't find it, just search for it. Blighty is spelled Blighty. Join our Facebook group, Blighty Day Bays, BAES. Write us emails. You can put whoever's name you want in the subject line. And we have an agreement among the four of us that we're not reading emails from anyone else. I received a really lovely email this weekend and it just about made my day. So that is blightydayfiance@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram at blightydayfiance. That's all the housekeeping out of the way.
And I want to give Michelle a special round of applause. Clap, clap, clap. It's 5 o'clock in the morning in London. We are reversing me being up all night this recording. So thank you, Michelle, for making this an equal opportunity workplace.
Well, I wouldn't ask you to do anything that I wasn't willing to do myself, but the
That's
people
not what
on
you said before we
Patreon.
started recording, but hey, I'll take your word for it now.
The people on Patreon can see that I'm in my pajamas, so that's why.
Well, I had to give them a reason as to why. But hey, you always look lovely. And what lovelier place to start this week than the beautiful love story of Liz and Ed. Happy,
Oh
happy, happy.
boy. Yeah. This this was so much darker than it had any right to be.
100%. I was surprised that, I mean, obviously this was not going to pick up in a happy place, but this was like walking into someone's apartment in the middle of a really, really bad dispute. And I guess that's sort of the angle we got with the camera.
Well, that's like the theme of their entire relationship. Like their whole relationship has been you walk into the middle of one of their arguments. I don't think they were ever did we ever see them happy together at any point apart from maybe like the first date they ever went on, or like when he took her to that wedding?
And thinking back to that, was that even that happy? I mean,
I don't
you
think it
know?
was. And I don't even know what the turning point was. Like, I guess I think some people are addicted to conflict, and you know what, as a human being with compassion, I feel compassion for her, but this is a mess of her own making. This is a purgatory hell of her own making.
Oh, we'll get to that because that is my line of the night, which we're gonna have to get to because that's an Ed line. Now,
Ye-
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just laughing because you said Ed line, and it's like that's the like headline. You know what I mean?
The headline of today's episode is, and we're gonna get to that.
Right.
I do want to
Exactly.
open with the fact that so Liz starts the show by saying that this would be our 1 month anniversary, but she is, of course, heading there to collect her things. Your thoughts, Michelle? I mean, more than thoughts. We're going to need some feelings for this one.
You may have judged by my sigh. I know that we don't have a better word for it, and I totally get it, but it still annoys me when people use the word anniversary when it's been a month or a week.
Are you referring to the fact that an anniversary is an annual occurrence?
Yes, yes, I am. But then again, we don't have another word for it, you know? So what are we gonna do?
But we definitely can't call
Meanwhile,
this a friendiversary, right? it's,
right.
it's not gonna work. Anyway, I cut you off there. You got to a meanwhile. Go ahead.
No, I skipped ahead because obviously the right thing to do would be for that fucking disgusting idiot to vacate the property so that Liz has time to get the stuff. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this wasn't actually a directive from production. I think Ed is that controlling that he needs to be there, and criticize everything she does one last time.
I 100% agree. I think that he was just going to be difficult unless she got some sort of police order that made him leave the premises. He was going to stand there just to make her uncomfortable. I mean, what else was
Yeah,
he doing? Like when he's standing in the kitchen with his big Ed ass, like kind of in her way, she's having to go around him, around the
I
island.
know. Oh, so obnoxious. But I don't blame him because he's hopped up on sugar. He's doing his whey protein, which for I know there are many of you who are lactose intolerant or semi lactose intolerant. I think it's a generational thing that people born between like 1980 and 1990 can't digest milk.
You're very right. I myself used to use whey protein powder like 20 years ago, but I have switched to egg white protein powder over the years when I'm exercising and stuff like that. And guess what? There's no sugar in egg white powder. And I don't know what Ed's putting in his body. And you just alluded to his sugar drink, his sugar smoothie, which I didn't see anything green or any vegetables. And he did not use coconut water or anything like that. He used
No, he
high
used
sugar
orange
orange
juice.
juice.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is like trigger warning. That's like adding a full fat Coke to a smoothie on top of all of that, whatever, like frozen. How is he even going to drink that? I just thought, like, doesn't that make your mouth feel sticky just looking at it, being like, oh,
It
you
makes my
couldn't even put a
palms feel
banana
sticky.
in there?
There
Like,
was no, what was it? Pineapple, oranges, and strawberries? I think that was all I
no,
saw.
it looked like it was a bunch of it looked like it was a tropical mix, so, like,
Oh,
probably, like,
yes.
pineapple and guava and
No, no
something
way,
else.
no way Big Ed's putting guava in anything. I think he got some like it was like, you know what it was? It was like the tropical fruit, but it was like American tropical fruit. So it was like pineapple, cherry, here's a grape. I feel like
Oh,
that's
you
the
mean like a fruit cocktail,
Yeah,
like a
tell me that
Del
Ed wouldn't look at
Monte.
that. Yes, a Del Monte fruit cocktail. Tell me that's not what Ed thinks is a smoothie worthy vegetable fruit.
It's just a weird way to start the day. That it's
Well,
like I said, it's a ton of sugar.
yeah, but maybe he wanted to be in like a sugar overdrive for this encounter between with Liz and her mother Patty.
Yeah, well, it didn't go good. As
To
Liz
say the least.
says, as Liz says, I've only been gone a month and this house is a pig-style.
To which you did say to me that you think that's the form that they have sex in is pig style.
No, I didn't say that. I said no such thing because I didn't want to put any image like that in the listeners' heads, and shame on you for doing it.
I'm sorry, everybody. I couldn't help it. The way Liz said it, it came out kind of funny, which is, I guess I was probably hanging on to that because it's the only funny thing that happened between them this week.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm sorry for being the fun police there. That's not very nice of me.
It's your job. I'm going to go too far if I'm not policed here. I
Um,
I do have. If we can, we shift to Ed's pieces of dialogue
yeah,
here.
please. I've blocked them out completely. I didn't even write it down, so please.
Well, it's interesting. As Liz had referred to it as it would be their 1 month anniversary, Ed refers to it as Liz left 3 weeks ago. so, so we start there. Let's see. Oh, we have Ed's new love is he's giving up cars and buying old pontoon boats. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
right? Is he just looking for a hobby, do you think, at this point, now that his relationship's falling apart? And I don't know how the cameo biz is treating him at this point.
I'm disturbed by the fact that he's not even pretending to be upset about the end of this relationship. I was
0%.
expecting something really different from him. I was expecting crocodile tears and poor me and I'm going to be alone forever and she's a but like he's so fucking over it and I just want to know what Thai woman he started speaking to before all this happened and when she came into his life because there's got to be an overlap, right? Maybe the Thai lady likes pontoon boats. I
Oh, I like that. That's a good theory, and I would say that a guy like Ed is never leaving a relationship without some sort of overlap, situation, and yes, I know you were
mhm.
talking about the overlap of the pontoon boat, but there's always overlapping women for a guy like this, and I'm not gonna talk about, codependence or anything like that. Ed is a horrible, lonely little man, and he needs someone to control, preferably a younger woman for him.
You know what's so creepy is that the only time that he wasn't dating and he was actually single was when he was living with his daughter.
Yes, 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 yes,
I'm
you're
not
right.
suggesting anything untoward happened there, but I am suggesting that now that he doesn't have, like you said, he doesn't have a younger woman around to control anymore, and Liz looks exactly like his daughter. That is creepy.
Yes, and I will double down on I don't think either of us is suggesting anything creepy between Ed and his daughter, but it's just that the creepy part is not something physical or anything. It's the taking the relationship that you have with your daughter and trying to superimpose that onto your relationships. That's very creepy.
Yeah. I mean, all of the language that he uses about Liz is not how you talk about an equal. Like, I don't think I've ever said about a partner like, "Oh, they're, you know, you're are you going to be immature? Are you going to yell? Are you going to act out?" That kind of bullshit. It's
Would you
um
consider that I wanna ask you, would you consider that gaslighting to a degree? Because it's not traditional gaslighting, so it's the wrong word, but I'm trying to kind of come with the word that kind of encapsulates this well, I mean, maybe he's just acting boorish and bullyish, it's just that sort of thing, he's not giving her any room to have any emotion. And like you said, like you might think when your ex is coming in and it's so fresh and she's picking up her things, you might be crying, you might be sitting at a table. He was just antagonistic from the second she walked in.
yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It's that she's not allowed to have any negative emotions. He has to police how she feels, and I'm not defending her because she belongs in the trash along with him, really and
Michelle
truly,
not mincing
because
words.
well, there's no getting around it. She's also a bad person. She just is. She's made not only is she a bad like she's made bad decisions and that doesn't make someone a bad person, but she is also a bad person. And anyway, they start bickering. Oh, is that gaslighting? No, it's just but it's a form of coercion and control. It's just telling someone how to feel, which
That's what
isn't
I think I
respectful.
was looking for. You hit it there. It's coercion. He's being coercive and trying. It's like the relationship's over. He's still trying to control. But as we see with Liz, she's going to get controlled by someone because now she has her mother, Patty, there, who seems to be in charge to a degree. And I don't know. Remind me, was it when Ed gets into it a little bit, which we're going to cover to wrap them up? Is it more with Patty or with Liz, would you say?
The
Yes.
argument, I don't think he sees them as distinct, honestly. No, I'm serious. I
I
think
know
he
you
just
are.
looks
It's
at
just,
I
it's
think he
awful.
sees all women as a monolith and doesn't distinguish between them.
That makes
And
sense
it
in the way he treats women. I see what you're saying.
yeah. Yeah, he talks down to them, he minimizes their feelings. On the rare occasions that he is being nice to them, he still talks to them like they're children. Let's not forget that he gave when we first met him and he was dating Rose, who has like some I think she had some esophageal problem that made her breath
Yes.
smell bad.
Yes, she did.
He gave her toothpaste and did this whole like, "Your breath smells not pretty."
Oh God, I
I'll
forgot
never
about
forget
that.
that.
That, it's interesting. Sometimes on these shows, people grow, and sometimes they never grow. And Ed is, if anything, I suppose he's devolved into something even worse than he was when he first showed up.
He's so far up his own ass, it's unreal.
I can see it though. Like, I feel like the house of cards of Ed is starting to. I feel like feel like Ed has touched one of the Jenga pieces too many times in his mind. And I think it's all collapsing because he to me, and I just bring this up, and I take this with what you will, but I just moving to the pontoon boat and acting like it was a proactive choice to give up on expensive cars. Man, it's not a proactive choice. The guy ran out of money and he's trying to make the most of his life in Arkansas.
Also, boats are absolute money pits, even nice ones.
Do you
Like
think
boat
Ed knows that?
No, I think he's trying to fit in. I think he's trying to I don't know. I get a weird feeling because I never thought I would say this about him, but I think he is trying to go straight. Like, I think he is maybe trying to transition out of reality TV because it's, even though he's inexplicably still extremely popular and audiences all over the world want to see him be horrible. I think he is looking for a way out, hence the real estate and the move to Arkansas where no one's going to be mean to him, that kind of thing.
I think you're right because I think the way he might be looking at it is I can't really improve my image anymore from being on these shows. So instead, if I transition out of being on the show, I could just be former reality personality, Big Ed.
It's either that or there's something else that's going to come out that we don't even know
Ooh.
about yet that's worse than what we've seen on screen.
I hate to say it, but, I hadn't thought about it, and when you just said that, I just thought, "Yeah, that makes sense." That's why a guy like this would start to wind it down and start to disappear a little bit.
Yeah, and as well he should. Like, look, regardless of what happened in their past, like Patty and Liz have obviously worked hard to repair their relationship and to say maybe you should have done a better job raising your daughter
Oof.
and not abandoned her. That that was really fucking I just I'm swearing more than usual, and I think it's because it helps me kind of
You
keep
have
some of
to
this
swear
stuff
to
at a
get
distance,
through
but
some of this. Yeah, no, no, no. Don't
yeah.
apologize. Listeners, this might be a swear-heavy episode. Michelle, don't monitor yourself. Let the people hear your real feelings.
Yeah, well, those are my feelings is like it's really hard to talk about it. It is hard to I mean, you said you mentioned earlier, you know, th- we need to talk thoughts and feelings and we do. But on a serious note, for a show that is so silly it is really difficult to engage with sometimes, and I these aren't throwaway lines, you know? These are words are important, which is a nice, segue, I think, to Angela and Michael, who are the other people we just wanna get over with.
I'm gonna let you segue in
Although
1 second. You just
okay,
skipped, the line of the night by accident,
I'm
which is,
so sorry, I did.
that's okay. No, 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 this was you pointed this out, and it was a great one. It's just in the, awful moment where, we have the Ed yelling at Patty that she shouldn't have abandoned her daughter. And then I think Liz yells at Ed and throws it back, saying he abandoned his daughter. And then Patty says that Ed will, Michelle,
Spend the rest of his eternal life in purgatory hell.
exclamation point.
Yes. Now,
Now we're going to end on a fun note here because we're going to move on in a second. So please explain this quote because I feel like you can really it's layered.
it is layered. It's very confusing. Look, as many of you know, I am a convert to Judaism. I was raised Catholic. Purgatory hell is not a thing. Purgatory is distinct in the Catholic understanding, anyway. Purgatory is like where you wait between heaven and hell.
It's a nothing space, correct?
Right. It's a liminal space.
Liminal space, excuse me, word of the
It's
week.
like the Red Room in the Black Lodge in Twin Peaks. It's an in-between space.
Do you feel that Patty's giving Ed, like, a little bit too much, that he's already earned an eternal life?
Maybe she thinks that I like I said, other models of Christianity, I'm afraid I don't have a very firm understanding of. You know what I love about being Jewish? We don't believe in hell at all.
Can we use this as a transition into the next happy, sparkling couple we're gonna talk about? Who am
Yes.
I talking
Now,
about? Who am I talking about, Michelle?
I think you're talking about America's sweetheart, Angela.
That is correct. Bring us in. Can you tell us what's going on with Michael and Angela this week?
Now, I have to say, credit to you for pointing this out. This is actually the most exciting thing that has happened in their coverage in like 6 out of the 7 years that they've been on this show and
The
its
decade and
various
a half
iterations.
they've been on our
Yeah,
televisions.
because this did not go where I thought it was going to be. So we learned that Michael is the admin of a WhatsApp group called Paradise Men,
No, no,
which
singular. Paradise Man.
oh, sorry, Paradise Man, um, which is comprised of other Nigerian gentlemen who are marrying American women and going through the visa process and, maybe having a few laughs along the way, maybe clowning on a couple of the people that DM them. I don't, um, I really want to believe that this isn't a scam, but it sounds an awful lot like a scam. That being said, I will never, ever in my life believe that Michael would take things as far as he has for a scam. There are so many better ways,
A
so
hundred
many better
percent.
targets to choose. Like this is a unique form of torture, right?
Absolutely, but it's like self-immolation in a way.
Yeah. Look, we hit the same beats over and over. She goes back in a cloud of cigarette smoke to the hotel, takes Michael's phone, screams about all the invasion of her privacy and her personal shit.
Yes, 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 yes. First, I would like to ask our listeners if anyone's proficient at AI. I would love to see an Angela Cruella DeVille mashup. I feel like it would go really well. And with that, I just want to say there's a
But
couple
it
of
would be
things.
like chickens instead of Dalmatians. It wouldn't be fur, it would be feathers.
And half Michael. That would be the other half of the
Oh,
code.
God. Yeah.
No, she's a monster. I just want to bring up, I mean, we've heard this kind of accusation at Michael before, but there's a whole thing which we don't need to go through the whole piece here, but Angela steals his phone, goes through the whole thing, and we see that Michael has something he's referring to as a piggy bank where he has essentially it looks like he's amassed a $30,000 rainy day fund. It is unclear if that 30,000 is all for him, if it's split
I
up
don't
with
think it's in US dollars either.
right. She kept saying $30,000, but I think it was 30,000 units of currency that are not dollars.
Sure. Yeah.
So we don't quite know what's going to happen with that, but this this was a weird area because it was like Angela kind of gets to be right in a sense where it's the whole like, "Oh, I knew it. You was scamming me from the beginning." And yeah, maybe, but like again, what's new here? This is the same shit we've been hearing from them every time they're on TV.
Yeah.
Oh, but of course, what really, and yes, yeah, Michael's a snake, blah, blah, blah. The last thing that comes up, which is going to lead into next time on, is that Angela finds a voice memo of Michael seemingly discussing her tax return. And you and I were discussing this before the show as to you can't really do much with someone's tax return or slash this was like a piece of a voice note that was taken very out of context. And I'm look again, it's not great if he's discussing her tax return with anybody, and it certainly doesn't make him look good or innocent. But
No, but
yes,
there's scenarios where that could apply, like maybe I doubt this very much, but if I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, maybe it's not a message within the group. Maybe it's a private message to somebody who's a consultant or an
hell,
immigration
even
person or
even a
something like
friend,
that.
you know.
Sure. But like you don't get a whole lot of information on a tax return that i- is worth anything to a criminal unless you wanted to steal someone's identity, I guess. But even then, like what's even on there?
Also, don't you think Michael already has her social security number somewhere if he wanted it? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
he's seen it before.
And she's like she gets ultra paranoid. She's like, "This motherfucker's trying to have me killed. Life insurance?" And it's like, "Babe, you couldn't you couldn't get a life insurance policy if you paid it in advance in full. You are like in your 50s, you
Smokes 3 packs a
smoke
day.
you smoke 3 packs a day. You've had several surgeries that you definitely shouldn't have had. I'm sure there's other underlying stuff. Um
Absolutely.
yeah, and plus she has a very very high stress lifestyle. I don't really think she can get a life insurance policy realistically.
Do you think
So,
that her usage of Coca-Cola instead of water would help the premium or hurt the
that
premium?
too. That too. That's why she doesn't have any of her original teeth.
Oh my goodness, when we were talking about them last week, I didn't even think about that, but yes, of course, if you gargle with Coca-Cola, you're probably not gonna do your teeth any favors.
Yeah.
Alright, do
Um
you have anything else to
just
say on those 2? Yeah,
I do.
please, take it away.
The one bright spot of this, and I do want to give credit where credit is due and say thanks for giving us something relatively new that then led to the exact same beats over and over again, so it was ultimately a little disappointing. But she's, like, walking through, I don't know, wherever they are, and there's, like, animals everywhere, and she goes, "Move, ducks. I used to be scared of you. Now I'm pissed."
I liked it, it looked like she transmuted her, anger at Michael onto the ducks. The ducks were my cow in that moment. I just
Oh.
the last sound, all I just really I will say for and she presents herself so horribly. I just think of Michael just Angie, 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 Angie. And that's like it. And it's never, that's their relationship. I mean, just if we broke this down into sound effects, it would be, bah, 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 bah. And that is not the key to a wonderful relationship.
No, but that does sound like you and me talking.
That's the cartoon sped up version.
Yeah, like, if I didn't speak English and I was trying to, like, imitate what this podcast is, that's what I would do. That's the sounds I would make.
So we've gotten NPR and PBS on the board so far. So we
Which
also have,
thank you so
yes,
much to the people who complimented us with those. I mean, it really doesn't you can't aspire to much higher than that.
it means that we sound very serious and like world reporters covering this show.
I think it means we sound like, what some people might ungenerously refer to as coastal elites.
Oh, I said that off air. I wasn't going to share that comment. So, with them wrapped, where do you want to go? Because we have, what do we have? We have four left.
Let's go Gino and Jasmine
Very good.
because this
Very
one's
good.
sort
Very
of
good.
bright and breezy, it's not too heavy.
It's them arguing and Gino looking like he's about to cry, but somehow it's still light and breezy in comparison.
He looks like those,
Michelle just did a Gino mouth impression on the video here. Very good.
if you wanna see us on video, join the $10 or $15 tier of our Patreon, patreon.com/bladiday. Those fish from SpongeBob that, like, have their arms crossed and that's
Yes.
what Gino looks like when he's in a bad mood
With
or
his
when
mouth
he's
turned upside
in
down.
that frame of mind. It's like it's a perfect fish mouth. Um, he's had the same washing machine for 20 plus years, shocker. Jack, how many times do you think he has cleaned or descaled said washing machine?
It's going to be a big fat 0 times that he's done any maintenance to that washing machine. And we learn as much when Jasmine says that their clothing smells like wet dog.
I think it probably smells worse than that. And there's
Oh, I think
probably nothing wrong with the machine. It's probably dirty and is full of God knows what.
I think Jasmine is because the smell that she is trying to locate the word for is mildew. I think that the
Yes,
clothes smell
correct.
mildewy. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, that is, yeah, the wash, there's nothing broken in the washing machine, but also, I mean, can Gino at some point replace a 30-year-old washer dryer?
You know what though? Gino is exactly the type of dude who refuses to hire
I don't need to hire
anyone.
anybody. I watched a YouTube. I watched a
Yeah,
YouTube on it.
exactly. That's how he learned what an agitator was and why he felt it was so important to
Now, I
figure
wanna
it out.
know where he learned about it, that they're looking at high-end, current modern washer dryers. "Nope, don't like this one, doesn't have an agitator." What do you like, you're right. It's a buzzword. He saw it and he's like, "Agitator, agitator, agitator."
I don't think my washing machine has an agitator.
You're in England, you guys are missing a lot of pieces.
We're not missing pieces. It's just it's a weird setup. Like in most uh, we're different because we live in a house and we have a separate tumble dryer, which is very rare here. I don't know why, because it's freezing and wet all the time. And why wouldn't you want nice, warm, dry clothes faster? But most people don't bother with tumble dryers unless they have small children. But typically, in an apartment, you're going to find the washing machine in the kitchen where the dishwasher should be.
Angela, nice to see you again. But yes, if anyone's I actually have asked Michelle about this because, It's like the stuff you see on any British-based TV show when people are doing wash in the kitchen. It's because there is an all-in-one washer dryer and many London flats or British flats, let's
If
say,
you're lucky.
if you're
If you're
lucky.
lucky. And you won't find an agitator in a single one. So Gino went to Uncle Marco for advice, and Uncle Marco felt that Gino should sign up Jasmine for the pageant, and he did. Raise your hand if you think Uncle Marco is the one paying for this pageant.
Yes, I think
That's
you
2
nailed it.
hands up here, folks. But in return for doing the thing that he promised to do anyway, he's now putting conditions on that, which is that Jasmine don't start arguments, don't say hurtful things to me when we do argue. Now, to be completely fair, this is great advice.
But to
If
be,
it were
I have to ask you, is this not advice that's saying like, Jasmine, can you change your personality for me going forward? That's what it sounds
well,
like.
don't start fights is a stupid one, but I I say almost every episode, you need to learn how to fight fair. You need to learn how to argue with your partner without resorting to saying hurtful things when things aren't going your way, no matter how serious or unserious the topic is. Because I think what's different for them is that I really don't think that Jasmine insults him with the intent to hurt him as much as she does. I think to her, it's like throwaway words that are said in anger, and but she can't get past her own experience, so she can't see that something that's a throwaway comment to her is actually really impactful for him.
That's
Yeah.
where I was going to that's what I was kind of getting at with the it's asking her to change her personality, and, of course, the way she speaks to him is awful, right? But she's not going to suddenly cut out saying nasty shit to him when they're arguing and she's very heated. And, this is one of those beats on this show where it's like, okay, so what you really want, Gino, is you want to go to, you don't want to go, but in theory, you'd like all the benefits of going to a marriage counselor, but you don't actually want to do anything.
Right.
I
And
mean, yeah.
he's too cheap to pay for a therapist.
Right. He thinks, the next best thing is just asking her to be nice and he's going to make a deal with her. This is where I really question, like, not just does Gino understand women, does Gino understand people? Because, like, that's not a normal ask. It's a fair ask, but it's not something you're going to get because no one can promise you that they're going to change their behavior.
Except Rob of Rob and Sophie. He will promise to change his behavior till he's blue in the face.
Would you like to transition into them?
Um, Not quite yet. I do also
You're just
wanna
bringing up the wonders of Rob. Fair enough. He needs some extra coverage on this show.
I do I wanna pull Gino up on, talking about what a real woman is, and Jasmine on talking about what a real man is.
Now,
Um
I'm curious where you're going to go on this. And my initial thought was, are we doing something here where both people are kind of stuck in traditional gender role thoughts or not? So please take it away with your thoughts on this.
I think this is just another like, they really enjoy shaming each other, and if you think about what most of their arguments devolve into eventually is her shaming him for his lack of sexual prowess, and some other guy fucked her better or whatever else, and
Right, right,
his immediate response is you're a whore. So when the first thing that you reach for is like what is going to shame this person the most in this moment, she's saying, oh, a real man is a provider, a real man does this, like hit him in the wallet almost immediately.
right.
And you don't like you'll spend money on something for the house, but you won't spend money on something for me. That's not a great argument.
I agree because I was going to ask you about that because if the home needs a new washer and dryer for everyone who lives in the home, isn't that a separate expense than getting your wife a gift?
Yes, but Gino is also the type of guy who will buy her a vacuum cleaner for Christmas.
Oh, a million percent. If she wants a purse, he'll bring home a bowling ball bag, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he let's not forget that he got her an electric toothbrush as a gift. That is
Now, when
a
go ahead,
weak
sorry.
opening gambit.
Yeah, but I guess so. We neither we nor Jasmine should be surprised as to where this has led over time. What I took, which you're getting to here, it's the other half of what you're talking about, which is the what a real attractive woman is. And I did not, and forgive me, I did not write down the exact quote here. If you have it, please share it.
Uh, a real woman is an angry, argumentative, and bitchy.
Right. So super reductive and not helpful. I don't know, like if you ask Gino, hey, Gino, do you think a guy can be an asshole for a minute without being an asshole all the time? Sure. So a woman could act bitchy, let's say, without being a bitch. And the way I heard him say it, it sounded like you're nasty to me and you act like a bitch. Therefore, you're not a real attractive woman because you say these nasty things.
He also said something about how a real attractive woman is not gentle and kind. I can't forgive me, I can't remember the other word. One of the words was gentle. I think, like, quiet was the other. And I'm like, uh, yeah, you need to those thoughts in your brain, you don't have to let them all out. Pardon me, y'all, if you can hear the noise. This is the joys of the British summer where I've got rain pelting down first thing in the morning. This is the pleasure of living in this awful climate.
I mean, here we're it's really bad here in Southern California. It's 70 degrees and nice and dry outside.
All right. Well, remember what I just said about thoughts in your head not needing to be shared all the time?
You
That's
know,
that's
is
for
that
you
as
too, Jack.
prime
Yeah, that's
example?
yeah.
I was just gonna say they basically wrapped up. The last thought we got about them was they really don't know why they're together, which is a somewhat worrying thing to hear this deep into a relationship.
Yeah, I don't know. They certainly don't bring out I go 2 ways with them, because I think that unlike other couples, these 2 definitely fuck. Like, they definitely love each other. I think that they're both broken in ways that it's probably too late to fix, which sounds terrible, but,
But
I
question, I have a question here.
mhm.
Do they fuck? Because all we hear is blue pills and that no one's being satisfied by anybody. So are they attempting to fuck or do they fuck?
All they talk about is sex. All they talk about is, like, he pees on her and they suck each other's toes and stick
Gross.
things up each other's asses. Like, that's all they do. And
Yeah,
they
but
don't do it they don't do it in public restrooms like Ashley and Manuel, but
So you think though you would say because I just this is a real question. Do you think that they have an active, healthy sex life, and all of this extra shit that gets thrown around is just nastiness and being mean to each other? Or maybe Jasmine's not satisfied even, I mean, however you wanna look at it.
define a healthy sex life.
Okay. I guess just plainly from the outside, are they having sex regularly, in your opinion, that is beneficial or enjoyable by both of them?
I think she initiates it and he goes along with it. I don't think that it's my understanding from context is not that they're not having sex at all. It's that she's always initiating it, and for her, she wants it more than, like, once a week, and for him, that's not something that's sustainable given his health and state of mind.
That makes me sad for him. It also makes me realize, though, what I hear when you say that is it sounds like Jasmine needs more passion in the relationship. And I don't feel like, hey, call me out if I'm wrong here. Gino does not seem like a passionately toss you on the bed type of guy.
I see, I don't think that's true. I don't think it is
Really?
passion. Yeah, because I think that for Jasmine, sex and validation are so closely intertwined that she's really that it actually, and again, this is her not yet being able to see beyond her own immediate experience. Like, she feels horny. She doesn't care if the feeling that precedes that was anger or fear or insecurity or happiness, right? So it's all
Yes.
about what's leading up to the sex. She just needs to get off.
This is a really important point. I'm really glad you said this. So you're bringing up a kind of more emotional point here, which is sort of like what gets Jasmine worked up and turned on. It sounds like Gino might not be aware of it because Jasmine's not really aware of it.
I think it's I'm not going to say compulsion because that's really not the right word, but I think her relationship to sex is not a pleasurable one. I'm not saying she doesn't enjoy sex, but it's too it's too uh enmeshed with her need for validation, and that's what she's upset about,
I see
you
what you're
know?
saying. So it's
Yeah.
not separated enough really for her where it's kind of all mixed together where the sex and the validation, he could validate her in a different way, but if he's not validating her sexually, she might not accept it, not intentionally, but subconsciously. Is that a fair way to kind of say what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, except I don't know that she can be validated any other way because she's been sexualized her entire life.
Yes. I mean, that is
And
one of yeah, go ahead.
the whole, like, part of why they're together is that she knows that she is the younger, hotter, sexy wife, and she doesn't get in Canton, Michigan, that's probably, that's probably less usual than it is in other places, but, like, yeah, I think it's so tied up with how she sees herself and how she feels about herself. And I mean, that's why she's had all of these procedures and surgeries because you think, like, we can all see if she had if she had a whole extra set of tits, like, if she put a set of tits on her back,
Yeah.
it wouldn't make a difference. Nothing that she does makes a difference to him. He doesn't give a shit about, like, butt implants or whatever, like, he
No.
doesn't need it. He's never
No.
asked her for any of that. But it's all, yeah, it's in her head, unfortunately, and it's not getting out. So, that is a tough place to be until you're aware of it happening, and even then, it takes a really strong person to go, "Okay, actually, I'm gonna start accepting my age. I'm gonna start accepting the natural processes that my body is going through, and I'm gonna accept that there's a huge libido gap between this man who ate nuclear waste for 30 years, and me, a beautiful, healthy, young Panamanian woman."
Yes, I will say to Jasmine's credit, there was a digit change in her birthday this week, and she is now listed as 37 years old.
Mhm.
So, you know, Jasmine's growing. She's accepting herself little by little.
Yeah. I think she'll probably be 37 for another 7 years.
Oh, absolutely. She reminds me of my mother when my mother was like 39 for like 9 years.
Yeah, see, my mom never did that. She was never, oh god, it's so gross. Somebody once told me that they dated a girl whose mother was like one of these, like, desperate to be MILF kind of,
Ew.
like
It just made my face
yeah.
twitch.
I know, I saw the face. Um, and her vanity plate was Forever 39. It's like, "Oh, you're so creepy."
All right, now I think it's the time of the program to get into your favorite couple, my favorite couple, really everybody's favorite couple, because they're just both so likable. And who else could I be talking about except Rob and
Sophie.
yes. Hello, Sophie. So, where do we start, Sophie? We start with Rob agreeing to meet you and your mum.
Yeah, this is another one of those things where, like, I had to sort of so I thought for a very long time that this entire relationship was staged and that they both wanted to be on TV, that they had met on OnlyFans and they were willing to go through this kind of charade. I don't think I can say that anymore because this
Now,
feels so intensely personal now.
does Claire factor in, Sophie's mother, Claire? Does she factor into your feelings of this being
Mhm.
legit? Okay, go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of things. I mean, we hit on another series of familiar beats that we don't have to over index here. But I think it's really interesting that Sophie and we know that Claire is really manipulative. We know that Sophie's a parentified child. It's really interesting to me though that again and again she kind of winds up her mom or like gasses her up to have a talking to with Rob and really tell him, don't fuck with my daughter kind of a thing. And then
Mhm.
when it happens, Sophie acts like she's completely shocked and she's like, "Oh no, mom, don't say that about Rob. He's trying," like I find that very disturbing and um she just so quickly goes from, I don't know if I mean, you've been to therapy, so
I have famously been
y
to therapy.
do you know what the not Cartman, but the Karpman drama triangle is?
Yes, but why don't you explain it to the listeners out there?
Okay, well, I'm making a triangle sign with my hand. So, the Karpman with a K drama triangle, the 3 corners are victim, persecutor, rescuer. And in relationships, and it's most often brought up in family dynamics, we see those uh, roles changing a lot. And normally, the goal of the person who kind of creates the triangle is to stay in the victim place. So
Now, when you say
that's what I think
creates
of.
the triangle, how do you mean creates the triangle? Do you mean intentionally creates the triangle, emotionally creates the triangle?
Yeah. I mean, it's called triangulating when you put two people in a that you care about ostensibly in a situation like this. So in Sophie's case, she's making her mom the persecutor. She's making Rob the victim and Sophie is playing the rescuer so that when Rob becomes the persecutor or sorry,
Claire?
when Claire becomes the persecutor, then Sophie can switch it around and be rescued by Rob and feel safe. And that's why she keeps going back to him. I used to it's finally come together for me now just right in this moment. Is she just needs an ally because going back to her it's like being and you understand this as a child of divorce, not to get too personal, but it's like
No, that's
having to
okay.
choose between, whose house feels the safest in that moment given your relationship with that particular parent, you
Great
know?
analogy. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all I have to say really about that. I mean, the other stuff I think we've talked about kind of ad infinitum, and Rob loves to be a victim, so
I just want
he
to get
loves these
your
kind of
I
interactions.
want to get your take just off of what you were just saying. So, let's say that you're right there, and Sophie is, getting this rise out of the two of them. Does this? I mean, this obviously speaks to whatever relationship or lack thereof Sophie had with her father. Would you say if she's parentifying her partner?
Not necessarily. And I don't think she's parentifying him necessarily. I think it's more that she just wants a protector, which I don't think is her
I only
experience of being parented.
I meant parentifying more in like the sense that she's having her mother go up against someone else, and it might be reminiscent of a somewhat
Oh,
mother
I
father type of
see.
argument, if that makes more sense.
I understand what you mean now. Yeah, and Claire even says, like, "I'm her mother and her father, and if her father was here." I just remember the most I have to shout out my dad and, uh, call to mind one of the most badass fucking things that he ever said to anyone. My dad was not a combative man. Um, he believed in peace. He was a conscientious objector. He joined the Peace Corps instead of being drafted. And you know, he didn't get in fights with people. That just wasn't his style. And when my ex husband and I got in a very bad situation that I won't go into for lots of reasons, but those of you who have been listening long enough get the general flavor. My husband went to my father, and I was in the other room, like trying to get my ex husband out of the house, and uh, he said my ex said something like, "Oh, please, I just need to talk to her. I just need to talk to Michelle." And my father said in a very calm and measured tone, "You have lost the privilege of that conversation. You've apologized and apologized and apologized, and now you don't get to talk to her anymore."
That is a mic drop statement. That's fantastic. That's strength,
Right?
calm
Right?
strength. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people, a lot of the cast of this show could learn a lot from hearing that story of your father.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was very happy for him to speak for me in that moment. Yeah, so look, there's a lot of back and forth here. Rob goes straight into victim mode and goes, "Well, I guess the only answer is that I'm an asshole and I'm a terrible person and I have to change." And I hate it when this happens. Rob's not wrong,
Yeah,
y'all,
you were
about
pained. You told me you
Claire.
were pained during this
It
exchange that you
hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Do I agree with him with Rob asking Claire, "How the hell do you even know what a decent guy is? How many good men have you even been around?" Is it a fair question? Yes. Is it respectful? Not at all. Uh,
Let me ask you a question going back to what you said. Has Claire lost the right to speak to Rob and have such a conversation at this point? Or no, because it involves her daughter, and so she never loses that right, in your opinion?
I don't think that the purpose of these meetings is to do anything apart from create more drama, because she's not there to help them work it out. And again, I'm sorry you guys, but Rob is right here. Now, he says all Claire does is validate Sophie. Claire should Rob, you should validate Sophie. I don't think he understands what it means to validate someone. He's certainly never done it before.
No, he was talking about validation as being taking someone's side, and that's not what validation is.
Right, exactly. But there's a point that I wanted uh, to bring up and ask you, Jack.
Mhm.
There's a lot of talk about Rob needing to change, right?
Yes.
Has Sophie ever been specific about now we've seen them go to therapy, right?
Mhm.
And have the therapist make suggestions. We've heard from other people what these two need to do. Do you recall a point in time where they've ever had a conversation where Sophie has said, "I need you to change in this specific way," or "I need you to change this specific behavior"?
Short answer, absolutely not. And the second half of that is I don't know that I've ever heard them have a real conversation at all, except, hey, this is where I live and the bathroom's outside. That was like as real as as they've gotten. Um, if you look at this as a whole, I mean, I feel, and this is giving Tarai, Rob's friend, like a probably way too much credit, but in a sense, I feel like I've heard more like brass tacks, like real talk from like Tarai about the relationship. Just like kind of like in the vein of like the questions of sort of like, hey man, like, are you even in love with her? Like, do you even want this
Right,
marriage? And
right.
that's the kind of, and obviously you should not be asking your partner, hey, do you even want to be in this marriage? But if you get to that point, you probably should be able to chat about it.
You're right. Tarai had some good points. I obviously it was overshadowed by the green card thing because as Claire rightly points out, and I can say this as an American expat,
Mhm.
um, I'm not gonna say it's better or easier living here, particularly at this particular moment in time after like 15 years of a government that is just absolutely gutted public services like a fish.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're not going to go broke having a baby or um, breaking a leg. And that is a huge draw. There is a decent jobs market, and people come here for a reason. That reason is not the weather, but it is easier than living in the US in some ways because of the way that the system is set up. I will say that, and obviously, I wouldn't be here if there weren't lots of advantages. What I wanted to ask you is, has anyone ever asked you to change, like either a
Yes.
behavior or I mean, no, but like in the context of a relationship and like what was you did it work? Was there a time when it worked? Was there a time when it didn't work? I know you've been in the same relationship for 20 years, so you don't
Yes,
have to
but
talk
I
about that, but
no, I can talk about that a little bit. I mean, when you're in one relationship for pretty much your entire adult life, there's a lot to talk about with that. And so, of course, being married for 20 plus years, there have been ups and downs. It's not all roses, even if you're together that long. Yes, I've been asked to change at different times, but I would say the times where that is successful and vice versa, when I've had to ask for a change on my wife's side, um, it's never going to be successful if you just demand a change or randomly ask for a change. It's are you willing to have the hard discussion and the hard talks that come around facilitating actual change? Because we can all say, yeah, sure, I'll change. No problem. I'll be different tomorrow. But that's just lip service. So the difference between lip service and actual change, I think, really lies in how down in the dirt, so to speak, do you want to get? Because it's not always going to be clean and simple. And I think that, yes, I have been asked to change, just to be clear. And, that could be reactions, that could be ways I spend time, anything like that. And there have been times where it's no, I disagree with it, and here's why. And, and then what's the other side? But see, what I'm describing right there is a give and take back and forth between two
Mm.
adults who have shared their life together, which is so, yeah, I mean, just literally comparing myself into these people. Yeah, it's not a real relationship if you're not having real discussion, like if you're not actually, but see, I think that it's also a level of safety. I don't think that either of these two. I don't think Rob provides safety to Sophie, and I don't think Sophie provides safety to Rob. And I'm speaking more emotionally than anything else. And if you don't feel safe, then, and sorry, I hope no one's hearing that dog bark right now. Um, if you don't feel safe, it's very hard to make yourself vulnerable. And if you're not vulnerable, how do you share what you think a problem is and how to fix it?
Mm.
And so, this is obviously like we could talk about this for hours because this is like the makeup of relationships and how long term relationships are successful. But I think it kind of comes back to the point it's why this relationship isn't successful and why I don't think it can be. The things that they say about each other and to each other are in no way trying to grow anything. It just seems like trying to tear things down. And when you're trying to tear down something that's barely built, what chance does it have?
It just doesn't. I mean, my feeling is that neither of them really know what they want. And my feeling about Sophie is and always has been that, she's not used to she doesn't have when I say she doesn't have the language, I mean she hasn't spent enough time in therapy or in any kind of like personal development kind of work
Right.
to be able to recognize and identify her emotions and her needs. So I think when she's saying, I want him to change, I think what she means is, I want to feel differently about him. And I want to feel differently when I'm with him. I want to feel good when I'm with him. And she doesn't know really, like she took a stab at like, oh, just tell me I look pretty every day, or say something nice, just be nice, that's like a director telling you to have more energy. It's non-specific feedback that can't be measured and therefore can't be improved.
I think that a comment she made this week that really works into that is when uh, Sophie talks about how she's physically attracted to Rob, but how she hates when he starts speaking and she loves when he's drunk. And maybe he should just be drunk forever and then they'll get along just fine.
Oh god.
I mean, if that is not like a red alert comment about a relationship, let's just be drunk forever. We'll be fine.
That is pretty bleak.
It's rough, and I'm just curious because we have and we're not going through the whole menagerie again here, but how is it that we're talking about how unlikable Rob is and what's going on in this whole week here and this or what we saw this week? And yet it felt to me while I was watching it, and I have this in my notes and I have it in my head, but I don't know why. Maybe you can help me figure this out. Why do I have down here that somehow Claire made Rob the good guy by the end of the conversation? Is that like a totally off base thing I wrote, or is there some
No,
validity to it?
no. No, because she did that to herself. She's not thinking about her daughter. And I know I just shared, what I shared about my dad, but that was when the relationship was like undeniably over and there was no coming back. But my mother famously, if Robin and I have like a serious argument, my mother will take his side every time. And it's always in the spirit of, you know, trying to facilitate a reconciliation. And she was the same in my first marriage, even though she knew that it wasn't right for me. She never made it. And and I remember asking her about it when, I was getting divorced because we were both crying and it was just obviously it was a terrible time. And I said, "Why didn't you just tell me not to marry him?" And she was like, "Michelle, if I if I confronted you or him, it would have he would have made sure that like I was cut off completely." And that's the mistake that Claire has made, is she's made sure, and we know this because she was recently arrested because of something to do with Rob and Sophie. She's made
Right, right.
sure that, you know, Sophie's I think even in the future, Sophie's never gonna, because this relationship is done. But even in the future, I don't think Sophie's ever gonna be able to trust her in quite the same way, and I think for a long time, she's gonna blame Claire for what happened with Rob.
So you think if it does end, you think even if it ends because it should, you feel that Sophie's probably going to blame her mother for the
Yeah.
demise of the relationship.
Yeah, in part, at least. Rob
Yeah,
definitely is.
it would be hard not to. I mean, by the end of this chat, I mean, it feels it's basically they're both talking about how they basically no one's made an effort, and Sophie seems done, as you know, as you just alluded to. Do you think this is dead at this point?
I don't think I I don't understand what was there, if anything was there. I've
Was
never
there any
No,
there there?
genuinely. I don't see any chemistry. I don't see them being attracted to each other. I don't see them being affectionate or loving towards each other. All I have seen from them is doom and gloom and misery and passing the buck. Like, and that does not a healthy relationship make. It
Almost like
just
two OnlyFans models got together for no reason except to be on a TV show, and they don't even like each other.
And it comes full circle. So, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. The
No,
emotions seem real to me.
smart money's on your theory. Anything else to say about these two? Or are you ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on.
We have two left, second to last, but certainly not second to last in our hearts are Ashley and Manuel, and we are joining them postnup discussion. Always a happy time in a young couple's life.
Yeah. Um this is where Manuel gets to celebrate his stint, however brief, as king shit of fuck mountain.
I'm just laughing. I'm sorry to laugh over you. I was just when you just said that, I just he looked so, he had the biggest grin we've seen on him the entire time he's been on
I
any of the
know.
shows. He was
He's
thrilled.
never been happier. He has never been happier.
Run us through this here as to what he's feeling such joy about.
Um, well, that would be the student debt because he doesn't, well, maybe he does, but he's acting like student debt is the same as like credit card debt, which it isn't.
Did you
Um,
think at all? I took that a little bit. I was going off of something he said last week, which was that she, quote, doesn't use any of her degrees for her job. I was wondering if if that's a little piece of why he might be denigrating the student
oh,
loan
I
so much.
see. Yeah. Yeah,
Not trying to give him too
maybe.
much credit, just trying to figure out where his brain is.
No, but he is so fucking funny. He was like,
He
"Did you go to
yes.
med I didn't realize you went to med you had a medical degree." Um, so he's riding high. Again, very briefly, he basically says Ashley should have disclosed this. And because I have truly this is not so much a female trait, I don't think. And when it presents in women, it looks different, but in a shocking lack of accountability, Ashley literalmente claims that she told him already and he forgot.
Yeah, that's not true. in any way, shape, or form, unless this is one of those things where, like, yeah, the first time we were talking, I totally mentioned my $100,000 student debt, and then I never mentioned it ever again in the months and years since our first date.
Maybe it's like when Sophie said that she was bisexual. Remember when she went, "I'm bi" she said it in
Yes.
that teeny tiny voice.
I have
Maybe
debt.
Ashley. Yeah. It's 100K, it's not a big deal.
Kay, I said I love you.
I said, "I'm really wet."
Oh, peligroso cuidado.
Piso
Well,
mojado.
that's what I was looking for, thank you. Stop getting your piso all over my mojado. Um, so the thing is that I wanted to make mention here, same
I'm
line
not
here,
gonna
but
correct you because it's not worth my time, but,
I
for
know,
autism's sake.
I was just
I
fucking around, that's not a
Okay,
real
alright.
that is a
I can't
language
tell
joke,
with
my
you.
friend.
I can't tell with you. I really can't.
Every time I see a sign, it looks like you got piso all over my mojado, and it just makes me laugh if I read it in English, okay? I'm not doing the
Okay.
translation. If I do the translation, it's not funny. It's just watch out for the wet floor, not funny. What I wanted
Why
to
are you
say,
laughing?
well, because you're laughing and now it's contagious.
You
What I
guys,
wanted to say, yes, fine, go
folks,
ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to share with the audience that we got in so much trouble the other day with cousin Dan because I could not stop laughing over something completely stupid. So I just want to apologize, cousin, because it's happening again. But I think if I keep my eye, I think if I bird box it, then I'm gonna be okay, and I'm not gonna start laughing again.
Do I need to bring cousin Dan in here full time as a sort of aid for myself to work with you?
No, no, because for one, they're doing things that normal people do at 2 a.m., like sleeping.
Cousin Dan's not sleeping at 2 a.m. Get out of here.
I know. All right, anyway, I'm gonna try to bird box it just for a little bit so I don't
I just
start
got a letter
laughing
right now
again.
that says the folks love your endless giggling. So, well, you might need to keep laughing anyway because the next. Oh, I just wanted to bring up and with Manuel, he's super thrilled, and he actually does use the phrase "the tables have turned." And he seemed, I couldn't then, I just started thinking of Michael Scott saying it the wrong way, how the turntables have turned, which got me into my own
Yes.
brain. But Manuel, okay, so that's where he's still super psyched. The tables have turned. And now, did the tables stay turned for Manuel? Or did they reverse yet
Nope.
again?
Nope, they reversed again because he needs $300 and he's saying that he shouldn't have to justify it. And okay, so I've thought about two different possibilities here. One is that they have an agreement that Manuel gets a certain amount of money per month. And this works with a lot of couples where it's a single income household. You can call it an allowance if you want, but
Sure,
you know, we all bring something different to the table.
absolutely.
Um, so let's say he gets $1,500 a month or $1,000 a month. If that's the case, that is his money, and she shouldn't need to know where that money is going necessarily because it's his. He does deserve that level of privacy as long as he's not buying drugs or using it for nefarious purposes.
Of course.
I think, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think he's earned that right to have money that he doesn't have to explain how he spends. However, if he needs more money than what they've agreed, and it's $300 for his brother, he absolutely has to justify it, and they have to have a conversation about it.
I agree because it becomes it's again, like you're saying, if it was, hey, this is the money and you send this back home and that's fine. I don't really need to know what it's for. It's fine. You're sending it back to help your family. But when you're going over budget, is it insane for Ashley to want to like, hey, sorry, I need 300 extra. My brother got sick and needed to go to the doctor, and I got to help them with some food. It's someone's birthday this month. Whatever it is, it's out of
Mm.
the ordinary. Like, there's a million things that could be out of the ordinary, but why is it so painful for Manuel to just say, "Hey, Ashley, listen, sorry, like this came up. I got to help them out. I feel really responsible." Obviously easier said than done, but it makes a point about their communication and his entitlement to a degree.
I agree with you. Just playing devil's advocate,
Yes, we need a
as I
devil's advocate
always
here.
as I often do. Could it be, and he needs, if this is the case, um, his attitude needs to change. I I support that.
Okay.
Could it be that his cultural conditioning makes it very difficult for him to be vulnerable in the first place, and that the anger and the righteous indignation that's on display here every time Ashley demands an explanation is actually covering up um fear, inadequacy, feelings of inadequacy, feeling emasculated, and the only anger that he feels safe in is anger, right? Did I say the only anger? I meant the only emotion he feels safe in. Sorry, you guys, I've been up all night. Um,
I think you're right. No, if you take it as the only, yeah, I feel like that's his comfort zone. And I think a lot of that comes from, you do have a point there. I don't like to talk out of school, but I do have a lot of friends from that part of the world. And just from speaking to them, and I have talked to them about this storyline as well, is yes, because I've wanted to know. I want it because I mean, I have my own opinions, but you should talk to people who are from a place to get the truth, the true take. And yeah, I do
mhm.
think there's a lot of cultural differences, a lot of differences between how men and women interact, how money is discussed, how family is handled. And again, however many years they've been together, it's been quite some time, if I'm not mistaken, way before the show, right?
Yeah, maybe like
A few years at least,
I
I
feel
think.
like it's 5 or 6 years, maybe
Yeah,
7.
I think
Yeah.
maybe up to 7. So it just speaks volumes about how little they've ever really spoken about anything and how, look, as funny as it was, and we all laughed about how, oh, every time they argue, they fuck, and then they're fine for a little while until one of them gets horny again, and then they'll go knock it out in a public restroom again. It'll be fine. As funny as that is, that does, of course, everyone knows it only goes so far. And it feels to me like that it's running its course at this point. Like, if you start hating the person you're with, the sex is not going to numb all of the issues that are going on in a relationship.
Speak for yourself. Um,
I use my words, Michelle.
this if the sex is that good, then yeah, it does for a period of time. I mean,
Definitely.
I no, I'm not gonna share that part of my life. Um, it was a long time ago. Uh,
Well, no, that goes to one more thing, which let's say, I don't know if you were going here, but I went here. Let's say they're hate fucking each other. I don't know that that lasts for a very long time either. And by very long, yeah, maybe a few months, but you're going to start the other pieces of the foundation of the relationship are just getting more and more cracked and fractured. And it just like, what is it really built on anymore? Like, I don't know what this relationship is built on.
there's also going to be points where sex isn't necessarily uh, I'll put it this way. I I really hope they don't have any children. I really do. I think that
When you say that, why do you hope they have no children? Are you thinking about the
That's
child
such
growing
a
up in this?
fucking that's such a fucking, like it's like Larry King interviewing a fucking
Michelle, why
psychopath, like,
shouldn't they have children? Tell us.
why don't you want them to have any children?
No, no, no. I meant it more. Are you thinking more from like these people shouldn't, with the way they get along and argue or not get along, should not bring a human life into the world? Or are there other reasons you're saying that?
No, look, I'm not s I he already has children, for one, and she absolutely deserves and I hope has children if she wants them. I am concerned that they don't have children together at this point because I think that is going to be something that they like. I don't want to describe marriage this way,
But you're
but
going to.
marriage is very serious and shouldn't be entered into lightly for any reason whatsoever. But you can leave a marriage. You can. Um, Lots of factors in life make that difficult, be it financial, cultural, families, having kids. In my experience, working in family law for 8 years, having kids is the number one reason people think couples think that they should stay together even long after their relationship is beyond repair. Um, and I think that they're sort of like a hair's breadth away from having a pregnancy that will distract them for a period of time, and then it's like, "Oh, there's a human or excuse me, there's a human being here that has needs, and
Yes.
not only can I not go make candles anymore, but, like, my bottomless well of need, um, I don't know what I can give to this bottomless well of need." Do you know what I mean? Like, you
Absolutely.
can't pour from an
Absolutely.
empty cup. That was,
So
like,
you're
a very
saying
long, belabored way of saying that I
no,
just
it wasn't
think.
that no, it wasn't that long. That made sense. You're basically saying that Ashley's bottomless well of need and support and everything. You're wondering if it sounds like you're describing her as almost a water pot with a crack in it, where the water keeps leaking out. So, what would she have to pour into another soul that she has to raise?
Yeah,
And not in a
exactly.
mean way. I just want to clarify. I don't think you meant, and
No,
tell
no,
me
no,
if
no,
I'm
no,
wrong. I
no.
don't
I
think you
just
meant
think
that in a nasty way. I think it's just in a factual way of what you're seeing. Yeah.
yeah, and she's like, "Look, Manuel, I have all this duct tape for my cup, and I keep filling it, and it holds
Yes.
water for a period of time, and then the duct tape gets wet. Why does it keep getting wet, Manuel?" And he's like, "I don't know what you want me to do with wet duct tape.
And see, but see, I think that that's the whole issue in their relationship is you have,
You went and got
yes,
your nails done
right,
instead of
buying
buying a
new
new
duct tape.
cup."
Yeah. No, I mean, it is, I think what you're describing here is like a fundamental difference in how these two view life and marriage and working together or growing together if you want, you know?
Yeah, this is not good, solid stuff, I'm afraid. Anything else on these before we move on?
No, I think unfortunately, I think they're on the rocks right now, and I think we'll have to wait for the happy recap next week. Which, yes, right, happy recap. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's always a happy recap with you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, my friend. And that will bring us into the light portion, I guess, of this
Yeah,
week,
I guess so.
which of
Um,
course is Emily and Kobe still in Cameroon.
Still waiting for
Godot,
someone.
Guffman.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, neither of the two women walking up to them was Kobe's ex-girlfriend.
No. Neither of them were Gatto or Guffman. If you haven't seen Waiting for Guffman, you need to. It's
It's very
just
funny. It's a
it's one of
mockumentary.
it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Christopher Guest, the director.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good. And
Spinal Tap. He did Spinal Tap
yes,
as
he
well.
did This
Yeah.
is Spinal Tap. And
And
of
Best in Show.
course, yes, we'll do okay. You want to we'll do an extra podcast again.
No, it's fine. It's fine. If anyone wants us to recap any of those movies, those recaps are gonna be like 4 hours long each, and it's
Minimum
just gonna be us quoting the movie over and over and talking about
and
what a
laughing.
genius everyone is and laughing. Yeah.
So now, do you think that Kobe texted any ex-girlfriends at all in the lead up to this episode?
No, no. I think Emily looked over his shoulder and was like, "Why are you texting Valerie?" And he's like, It's a different Valerie. It's my like, you have my friend Valerie that you met, but this is like girl Valerie."
He's just interchanging the names when it makes sense.
No, I'm saying he's got his best friend is
Of
Valerie,
course. Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, no, I got your
And
joke. You're talking about the
okay.
masculine feminine mix of the name. You can
Yeah.
flip it. Yeah, yeah.
So
I was with you.
he's texted Valerie. He just hasn't
It's a
texted.
different Valerie. He just didn't
Yeah, exactly.
texted Valerie, not Valerie. So it was a huge, huge difference. Now, um, so regardless, though, whether or not he actually intended to text anyone, which if he didn't, cheers to you, Kobe. You seem like a really good guy, and no ex-girlfriend needs to hear from you while you're with your new wife, American wife with 57 children. No one needs to hear from you. So good on you on that one. But what do you make of this incessant need from Emily to know if the guy she's already married to and has multiple children with was with her under false pretenses when they fucked one night in China when they met and he was a model and she was a tourist? What does this have to do with anything 5, 6 years later?
I guess she sort of wants to believe that it's a lot of magical thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Everyone wants to believe that, like, um, I forgot, do you watch Seeking Sister Wife?
Yes, I will say I've had a more so than watch it. I've heard a couple of really great friends recap it this season. But yes, I'm very familiar with it.
Okay, so it's kind of like, when Garrett goes like, "Oh, well, every child is a blessing."
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think for Emily, she needs this child, her firstborn son, to be uh magical in some way, and her story has to be that she and Kobe were deeply in love, and I think she says something to words to that effect, that she wants Kobe to have been fully in love with her when she got
Yes.
pregnant.
As if
I
but yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was under the impression that this was a surprise. If I'm putting it generously,
As
I was
far
not aware
as
that this was planned.
as far as I recall, it was yes, it was I don't recall if she found out while she was still away, if enough time had elapsed, but this was an accident. Happy accident, sure, but still an accident nonetheless. So that's where it's like I don't know. I wonder now that you just said that, I'm wondering like, is Emily wondering in her head, oh, so was I just some girl you were fucking that didn't mean anything? And, I mean, unfortunately, the answer is sort of like,
Yeah.
now you mean something, of course. But like, for that night, you were a fun American girl I was hanging out with.
We don't need to go over it again. If you felt bad for her, you wouldn't be dragging her on camera and then getting annoyed that she's brought a friend with her, theoretically. Come on. Come on.
And then this runs into oh well she was asking Kobe like how the relationship ended, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was like so obvious. He was like, I don't know, I was in China for like many months and I was doing my own thing and the relationship sort of petered out and I kind of like didn't really talk to her again. I don't think that was, like, his proudest moment, he seems like a good guy. It sounds like that was like he said, things like that happen. I feel like Emily's trying to attach far more meaning to anything that happened because, like you said, if it was her, were you talking about her with the magical, child?
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's the same idea, right? Yeah, I know what you're saying there because this it's trying to create this perfect written love story when it's like, "Hey, Emily, your love story is just fine. If someone wrote your love story, that's beautiful too. Just because it doesn't fit into some box of a story you read when you were a kid or whatever, a movie you saw a few years ago, doesn't matter. Like you're with a good guy, you have a wonderful family. What are you digging up crap from like years ago for?" And it just seems like you could argue whether it's for the show or it's actual, but I don't see the purpose in it, and I don't know what her aim is.
I wish that she would I wish that she would embrace it the way that Kalani did and just sort of said, "Yep, I was a dumb bitch that got knocked up." I'm not saying either of them are dumb bitches. I hate either of them very much. But just to, embrace that's part of the story. Like, this is incredible. My dad was an underwear model in China, and they met and had this great night together, and that's when I was conceived. Like, what's wrong with that? There's no shame in any of that.
Well, and
Who
especially if
cares?
if it ends with my parents are in love and they're married, what like, who cares about the how and the why? Also, I mean, I don't know knowing Emily, but hopefully those kids grow up without ever hearing about the ex girlfriend who was sitting in a room with a candle lit for Kobe in Cameroon while he's on some fuckfest in China. I mean, I hope she doesn't go there, but I don't know. She makes me uncomfortable sometimes with the way that she weaponizes certain things in her relationship.
Yeah. Let's just say I know way too much about the women my dad dated when he and my mom were broken up, and it's not because he ever mentioned it. That stuff does stick with you, but there is no way she would have ever in her life been in the same room as any of them. But I'm convinced. So I used to dye my hair sort of like a brownish reddish color, and I thought it looked really nice, and my mom hated it,
And
and,
then you
uh,
found out why.
and then I found out why. Yeah.
Well, I'll just so I can share something. You just reminded me of before my father introduced my sister and I to his long-term girlfriend at the time, and before I ever met her, as like a 9-year-old who probably knew a little bit too much about things, I met her diaphragm in the guest bathroom before I ever met her.
Oh, did you know what it was?
Yes, that's why I say I probably knew a little bit too much. Because why did I know what that was? But maybe that's when you're
Oh, that's horrible. Is
everybody,
that
it's harder these days, but, if I was 7 when my parents got divorced, and, don't give your divorced the child from your divorce a TV with HBO in their room when they're 7. They're gonna learn way too much.
were you watching, like, Real Sex and Taxi Cab Confessions?
Real Sex, Taxi
They
Cab Confessions, probably like Hellraiser, Taxi Driver. I'm sure it was just a
Oh my
cornucopia of goodness
gosh.
for a 10-year-old, 9-year-old.
I mean, I watched, like, scary movies way before I should have. Like, I saw Alien when I was, like, 4 years old.
That is
Um,
that's rough. I mean, that is a psychological horror movie that had to have left an imprint on you.
it did, it made me a feminist hero.
You're gonna go by Ripley from now on, aren't you?
A smart woman tells a bunch of stupid men what's wrong, they all die. She gets to leave.
And
She
live
gets a
on in
spaceship.
perpetuity.
Yep. Yep. Maybe not in the way she envisioned. Can I You don't have to answer this, but can I ask if the girlfriend that you're referring to is your dad's current wife, or was it this a different one?
Yes, it is the current
Oh
wife of my
boy.
father. And let's just, for the record, unless common law is still a thing, they never got married. So by anything, they'd just be common law.
Oh.
That's the magic of my father. Married 3 times, but the longest relationship is the one he did not marry or have children with. So make of that what you will. And I might not send this episode to my father, but I'll make sure my mother hears this one.
I bet your dad's really hot.
Hey, he's a very handsome man in his late 80s.
Perfect.
Now you sound like our friend Jake Anthony over here.
Well, he is my twin flame and soul sister for life, so
You're in good company. So
yeah.
any clothing thoughts, any closing thoughts on this menagerie of hellfire from this week?
My clothing thoughts, honestly, are that I'll pay you a compliment for a change and say, "Your guns look great in that
Oh, thank
shirt."
you. There we
Nobody
go.
tell Nobody tell anyone I said that, and,
Leave
yeah,
it in, cousin
it's
Dan. Leave it in.
take it out. Um, it's been I've had so much fun with you, I always do, and, thank you once again for your feedback. Again, listeners, I love it. You can ask anybody who DMs me on the reg. I always answer my DMs. I always answer emails. I want to know what you think and feel. Yeah, so come at us. And I know it's a big change. And uh just give it time and see how you feel. You might change your mind about
Yes, I would
Jack.
like
I'm
to.
making it awkward.
I would like to thank everyone who's giving me a chance and listening through this little bit of a change in the time of Blighty Day. And you know what? We are trying to make a terrific product for you all, and I think we're well on our way.
Me too. And it's all thanks to you, all listeners out there. So we still don't have our own sign off yet. So I'm just going to say thank you and I love you. And I hope you have a great week. And we'll see you in paradise next, I think, is our next recap. So,
That is
yeah.
correct. Everybody, have a wonderful evening, day, morning, wherever you are. Love you all. See you next time.